I don't know how I've done it, but I did it. I, I can't believe it, but I have actually done it. I've watched everything on YouTube. The, the normal stuff, the popular stuff,
Am I pregnant? Am I pegnate? Help? Is there a possibility that I'm pegrant?
and the weird stuff.
We'll be building muscular strength. That's what this video's about. Beauty and strength. This is connected to everything in life. Connected to victory and happiness. Victory and happiness is the most important thing for everyone. Okay, let's go.
Oh my gosh, so much weird stuff.
Mr. Phelps's class. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Hope you're having a great Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. We're going to use this week, all of this week, except for, of course, your internship day on Thursday and part of the office hour thing we're doing on Wednesday. We're going to use this week to work on our resumes. Okay, so this is a common thing between everybody. Next week we'll get to decide between doing a traditional cover letter, which is something you would also submit along with a resume for lots of jobs, and or some sort of scholarship letter, and that's going to have a little bit more self-direction from your side. That being said, a resume is very common for everybody. I mean, it's something that everybody has to do at some point. So I want to make sure that A, you have a strong one, and B, that you have one at all, because lots of you responded that you didn't have one, and I hope that we can remedy that this week, at least get you a generic basic one that you can sort of modify and mesh according to what the job needs are for whatever it is that you're trying to apply for. Excuse me. So I wanted to show you a couple of the tools that you could use. Let me bring this down here. And I'm just going to open up Microsoft Word. Your Word might look a little differently. I'm working on Mac, actually, so this might look a little different than what you're used to. And let me scroll this up a little bit if I can, so you can see the whole thing, or at least more of it. So when I open up my Microsoft Word, I'm greeted with a whole bunch of these kinds of templates right here. I can look through here and find resumes. Here's one right here, creative resume. But I can also just come up here to the search bar and type resume. And then I get a pretty good amount of templates. And of course, if you're not familiar with these kinds of templates, all you do is basically take the stuff that they've created and you put your stuff into it. And it looks pretty automatically, nice looking. Of course, you still have to do things like spell checks and that sort of thing, capitalization checks, that sort of thing. But you at least have the basic format. So here, let me show you very quickly a basic resume. This is like ho-hum, nothing special. This is, of course, one of your options for building your resume. But you'll see, I mean, it's pretty darn simple, right? Skill summary, education, experience, awards, acknowledgments, type of awards, and that's it, right? A good rule of thumb, what this is doing well, a good rule of thumb is being clear and direct. You don't want to spend too much time or have too much writing on your resume. You want it to be as quick to transfer the information as possible while still also like putting you into the best light. What this is also doing well is that most resumes in general, this is not like a hard and fast rule, but most resumes should be a single page. Even with somebody with more experience like myself, I try to put it all on one page. If I can arrange it. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes the job needs a little bit more from me. So like for the example, the census one that I put onto OneNote, that one needed a little bit more information. I didn't feel like it was appropriate to reduce that anymore. So that one I believe goes over 2 pages. Or onto the second page, I should say. So this is fine for a very basic style of resume. That being said, it's not very flashy. Okay, let me go back. I'm not going to save that. Let me go back to my Word documents here. Let's look at this one. This one's called the Modern Chronological Resume. I'm looking right here. Of course, you can choose any one of these you want, whatever you think is helpful for you. This one's a little more, it'll stand out a little better, right? So it tells you like to replace this text with your own, just click on it and start typing. And that's exactly what you do. When you click on it, it highlights, and then you say, my objective is, all right, something like that. And then you just type right there, right? I'll explain objectives here in just a second. But anyway, it's a real quick way to introduce like what you're doing, what you're looking for, the type of company you hope to work for, the type of person you are. It gives them a very quick rundown of who you are as a person. Remember that, kind of go back to the basics of rhetoric here and think about ethos, credibility. You have to come across very quickly within like a little bit of writing as a trustworthy, competent person for somebody to call you back, for somebody to bother calling you back, right? And so I'm going to be a little more hard on these as far as things like grammar go, and things like word choice go, because it matters. I have been a hiring manager in the past, and I have literally gotten rid of resumes because of typos. Because if they couldn't be bothered enough to correct their typos on their resume, then I know that they're not going to care about details when they're on the job. All right, and that's my reasoning for that, and I think that's a pretty common thought around hiring managers. So you have to be super clear, super obvious on what you're trying to say, and also, everything has to be very credible. You have to be filled with ethos on this single page. So, kind of getting to the point again is important. So this might be more of the style that you're looking for. It starts with experience, okay? And you can always switch these around. If you want to start with your education first for whatever reason, you can just change this to education and put experience down here. You can also remove one of these. So if you only have one job or something like that, then you can just take this one out, all this shifts up, and then you can just make sure that it looks clean when you fill in your information there. Excuse me. So you have a little bit of flexibility even with this, but something like this might be more along your all style. So you have experience, right? Remember to include things like jobs, of course, also things like the internships you've been doing for the last couple of years, any sort of volunteer work or paid work or services that you feel like are adequate or relevant, that you think you can explain a little bit and help make you look like a more marketable person. That's what you want to include on these, right? Maybe for something that's smaller, a volunteer thing, you can just say the number of hours right here instead of the dates from or to. If it was an 8-hour thing, that might be something that you don't want to highlight in the same way as you do like the job you've had for the last 2 years, that sort of thing. So you do have experience. What I want to accentuate here is that you will have experience to put here, even if it's only your internship, even if you've never had a traditional job, you want to make sure you put that here. Education, of course, you're going to go ahead and pretend like you are already graduated. So you're going to put, May of 2020 here, and then high school diploma, Holy Cross, of course, all that stuff, and then talk about any sort of accomplishments that you've had, and try to like beef that up a little bit. Try to make that sound as good as possible without lying, of course, and then probably most of you will be taking out the second one. Skills, this is where you list like things that are relevant, okay? If you feel like your work with your dad's lawn care company has given you the skills to work on small engines or something like that, that would be perfectly appropriate to put right here. It'd actually be very good to put right here. If you feel like you are, I don't know, ranked number 8 in the Call of Duty listings. I don't think they even have rankings, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like in the Call of Duty rankings or something, you have some like sort of accomplishment like that. You have to decide, does that really go here or not, right? If you're applying to a computer or a gaming company, yeah, that might actually apply. That could be something to show that you have put in time and effort into something and achieved a pretty significant goal. If you're applying to, I don't know, an accountant firm or something, then maybe that won't be relevant, right? And so that's why you want to have this kind of generic one that you can manipulate a little bit, and highlight the skills and the experience and the education that you've had that is most beneficial to you at that time, right? This activities section, something like that, you may decide to keep, you may decide not to, depending on how much space you have, honestly, on the rest of the page. Because all of you will be entry level, you will have a limited amount of experience. So trying to fill that up without also, again, being frivolous, meaning like unnecessary, is good to go. Whenever you're filling out any of these sort of job descriptions, you'll see on my examples, they're in bullet points. You can do it either way. Whenever you're filling out these, you want to try to look for things called power verbs, okay? So instead of, I worked with three other people and told them how to clean, the back room or whatever, right? You look, instead of just like worked with and clean the back room, or taught them how to clean the back room, you look for those power verbs, those things. I managed the development of three people as they were training for their new position, something like that. That would be perfectly appropriate. It's not lying. It's just beefing up the way that sounds, and the way that you do that is through strong verbs, right? So as you're building these things, try to look for those spots where you can do that, especially in these sort of responsibilities and description sections, okay? Let me show you a couple more here. Not save that. We'll go back in. One more I wanted to show you. Let's see, which one was it? Okay, so something like this. This, as you'll see, is far flashier than the other ones. I'm not totally against it. That being said, I think it could be potentially dangerous, all right? And the reason I say dangerous, maybe that's hyperbole, right? But the reason that I think it is potentially dangerous is some resumes are too flashy. They look like they're trying too hard, honestly. So try to find one that is, noticeable, but also not like trying to get up in somebody's face, that sort of thing. That's all I want to show you. As far as the objective goes, this is all just like some gibberish that they put in here just so you can know where to type. But as far as the objective, an objective on a resume, you can have it, you can not have it. It doesn't really matter. I think it's optional. It's just an opportunity for you to say, I am hoping to find work in the same field I intend to go to college for, right? You just talk to them. You obviously want to beef that up. I would not leave it like that. That would be first draft type of stuff. But you just talk to them. You say, this is what I'm planning to do. It's a 1 or 2 sentence paragraph, very quick. I'm hoping to gain experience in this field. I'm looking for a job that will allow me to go to school at the same time. You just tell them what you're looking for, and that lets them know very quickly what type of person you are and if you'll be a good fit before they even go down the rest of the resume. Again, the objective in itself, that whole section, is completely optional. You can use it if you feel like it's a good way to get your personality out a little bit. Okay. Let's go over to Google Docs. Google Docs is another way you can find templates, resume templates. So here's my Google Docs. As soon as I bring it up, I have this template gallery option here. I'll click on that. And then when I scroll down, I don't believe there's a search within this, but as I scroll down, you'll see there's a whole section on resumes right here, right? And I think I actually built one of my resumes off of one of these templates. So if I bring that up, it works the same way. And you just want to find one that sort of fits what you're trying to do. All right, this is a nice, clean, simple one. I like this style. It doesn't have too much unnecessary junk on it, and also it's easy to read. It's straightforward and simple, which I'm a big fan of. So basically, that all being said, your job today is to find a template that you like. I'm talking to the people who don't have a resume at all. I'll tell the other people who do have a resume what to do in just a second. But to find a template that you like and that fits your style and fits your needs, and start to fill in some of those pieces that you started to work on your brainstorming with last week. Okay. You're going to have some places that you don't know what to do with. You're going to have some wording that you don't know how to put. You're going to have some places that are weaker and some places that are stronger. That's all fine. Okay, we're going to work through all that. So think of this as kind of like a first draft of your resume. What I'd like you to do is use the class time today to the rest of class time to try to begin building that resume. Okay, if you already have a resume, what I'd like you to do is to either go into your existing resume and start to beef that up based on the instructions I just said about building a resume in the first place. You can also add the things that you were brainstorming about that are not yet on your updated resume. So basically just go into and do an updated draft, and basically have that all together for this week. Okay, so you may not have quite as much to do as someone who doesn't have a resume, but that being said, I want to see, even if it goes long and even if it's more than you need, I want to see a completely compiled list of all your education, all your awards, all your skills, everything else that you could possibly put onto here, your hobbies and interests, put that onto your resume in sort of an updated draft, and then we'll work backwards from there, okay? What everybody will do is on Tuesday or Wednesday, you're going to set up a time to meet with me on a video conference one-on-one, okay? That's every senior. So in the agenda in OneNote, I've got a SurveyMonkey list right there. I think it's SurveyMonkey. I've got a sign up sheet in there, Sign Up Genius it might be, where you're going to need to sign up for a certain time. It's a real quick 5 to 10 minute conversation. We're going to look at your resume drafts, and we're going to try to find ways to make your resume stronger, specific and individual to you. Okay, so have those drafts together by then, and I'll see you then. Make sure you click on that link in OneNote today so that we can have that stuff ready to go for Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Mr. Phelps's class. Yeah.